We greet you, Africa. We greet you, motherland. This is Bloodline Africa coming to you from the best, the number one, the ultimate radio television in Africa, One Africa Radio TV. We are based in Auckland Park, Johannesburg, South Africa. It's just gone past 10:36, and I'm here with my partner in crime, the Honorable Prof, my teacher, Mr. Malusi Mnube. Good morning to you, sir.
Sanbonani, Kido, Ndimachironi, Huyamore, Nda, Sanbonani, Dumelanka Ofela. Hey, what's up? What's up?
Yebo, Yebo. Africa, we greet you. Hello, motherland, we greet you. Today we are talking about Renaissance, African Renaissance, looking back, rediscovery, thinking aloud. I remember so many great voices of Africa, what they preach every day about Africa, what they teach us every day about Africa, what they tell us every day about Africa, the importance of this black continent, the one and only amongst all the continents in the world. We are the only one, the first one, the only black continent. Prof, we are talking about African Renaissance today. Are you ready?
Yeah, we're ready, and I'd like to say good morning to listeners. Siyathokoza in reverence, respect, and in immortalizing our ancestors, Malcolm X, Kwame Nkrumah, Amilcar Cabral, Samora Machel, Dr. Agostinho Neto, Khalid Muhammad, Marcus Garvey, Henry Sylvester William, W. Du Bois.
Oh my God.
We remember you. We carry on your work. We try our best, inch by inch.
Yes, sir.
There will be no end.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Helping the great Prof. We remember the likes of Nandi Azikiwe, Leopold Sedar saying, Sekou Touré, the Nzi Julius Nyerere,
Tambaragi Nyerere,
Arab Boy. There are people I wouldn't want to mention, even though they were still part of Africa's past. But this morning we are talking about rediscovering ourselves. Prof, in a layman's language, what is African Renaissance?
I think I stand for correction. The word Renaissance, even though it has transmuted and it's going to be English, but I think it's a French word, actually, and it was used during the Enlightenment period, Eurocentrism, when they were going through Renaissance, Enlightenment, coming philosophies, industrialization, and many other things. So that is what it's all about. So since, let me say, the former President Thabo Mbeki, Obasanjo, Bouteflika, the president who was the president of Senegal, Wade, am I right?
Yes.
They came together and they coined this African Renaissance, especially from the year 2000, saying that, look, we need to transition now from the Organization of African Unity, because it played its part of decolonizing Africa. We needed to institutionalize the Organization of Africa to be more appropriate with the post-colonial Africa.
Basically bringing it home.
Yeah, making the institutions very dynamic to what the world is, because we're done with colonization. Now we're in neo-colonialism, and we're dealing with those type of aspects globally. Hence the African Renaissance, in terms of our culture, in terms of our intellect, in terms of everything, human security, development, expression, whatever it is to be an African. You kept on speaking from the day we started about the speech that Thabo Mbeki made, that I'm an African. And the brilliant thing also, Thabo Mbeki, besides us influencing each other as people, he talks about the flora and fauna, the trees and the rivers and everything. The
Africa's originality.
Absolutely.
The magic of Africa.
Absolutely. And in my favorite mantra, I always like to say, whatever Thabo said when he said I'm an African, it boils down to the brilliance of what already our ancestors had captured. Yes, absolutely.
I am so inspired this morning. I am so awake. You guys could see that. You told me that. Even my chairman mentioned it. Said there's something in your eyes this morning.
And thank you for the introductory music that you played, the African music. That was, you put us on another level this morning. Thank you very much,
yes,
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. This particular topic is very, very close to my heart because every time my concern is about our children. You look at my son here standing here. And there's so little he knows about African history, original African history, not adulterated African history. There's so little they know about the original Africa. And hence, when we hear, look, let's go back to basics, because I think that's what Renaissance is all about. Let's go back to basics. Let's go back to teaching our youngsters every good thing there is to know about Africa. You know, in all spheres of human endeavor, from business to socialism to anything. Let's begin, start afresh. Let's recreate our African story the way it suits us and the way it should be truthfully told. My question to you now is, how wide is the scope of this particular should I call it analogy or term, this Renaissance thing?
Renaissance.
How wide is it? Does it cover every aspect of our lives, or
absolutely
is it limited to a particular story?
No ways.
Yes.
Renaissance, enlightenment, and progress covers every facet of our life. Everything, from our laughter to our tears, to our culture, to our politics, to our wars, to our mistakes, and to us introspecting and correcting our mistakes, and boldly moving back to us appreciating who we are, the way we talk, the way we laugh, the way we are black, the way we are pitch black, the way whatever, who we are, whatever they wanted to do down about us, when they created laws to say we are nothing, but we are rising with every little breath. We're saying, so I've got my son here, Clyde, I've got Skumbuzo, I've got Mike. There's the picture of Nkrumah. Who thought there would be a picture of Nkrumah here? Who thought you'd come from Nigeria and be here in Auckland Park, and there would be Mike, there would be Skumbuzo. We're working as a team from different countries and all that. We've got Nkrumah here. The spirit of Nkrumah is here. The spirit of Kamara Nyerere is here. All right? So, even if you say our sons don't know everything, I dare say they must be very careful, because the spirit of Nkrumah is here and it will rub off on them. The spirit of Kamara Nyerere is here, it will rub off on them. And what we've been talking every day, believe you me, Mr. Chuma, our sons and whoever is listening, they are going to even do much, much better than what we're doing. They are even going to be much, much brave. They will shock us, and it's going to happen. We are bubbling under, we are rising. That's what Renaissance is all about. It's about power, it's about our body. Remember, Africans are royalty. We are God's children. We are God. Do not underestimate yourself, no matter what your situation is. Look at where Mandela rose from. He rose from 27 years in jail. Robben Island is in the middle of the sea. It's cold throughout the whole year and all that. He rose from being a prisoner to being the first black president of South Africa.
One of the most populous black.
Do you understand? Whatever his weaknesses, but he had strengths. But this is what I'm saying. So you don't know where Clyde will end up tomorrow. You don't know where Mike will end up tomorrow. You don't know where Skumbuzo will end up tomorrow. These are the mysteries of God, but we have to play our part. And this is what Renaissance. Each and every sister, each and every black mother, each and every human being, do what you have to do. Don't wait for a mainstream media from overseas to come and tell you what you're doing. Just know that what you're doing is global and play your part. The tributaries will one day, and they are flowing every day to great rivers and to great seas. There is no going back. What we started from the resistance of our warrior queens, resistance of our forefathers and all that, it's what they call, it's reaching critical mass, right? Whatever they wanted. This is all Renaissance. I'm explaining it because it goes. Renaissance goes over and over again.
That's exactly what we're looking for.
Yes, that's what we're looking at. So there is no stopping back. The world they wanted to permanently build, this evil world, it's not going to be. I can tell you, in 10 years, in 20 years, there's going to be phenomenal changes. Even when some of us have departed, people like Skumbuzo, like Clyde, right? People like Mark and many others, Kiki, Lebuham, and Clifford.
Yes.
I am telling you that when they enter the territory and they take part in the territory, their intelligence will awaken, and our children will surprise us as much as we are surprising Nkrumah and Kambarage and many of our ancestors. They are listening. They are with us.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. That's Renaissance.
You know, my next question would have been, what does it take? What do we need to do to begin to preach this in a wholesome manner? But let me ask you this. Where do we take Renaissance to?
Okay, let me say institutionally first.
Yes.
Now we have the African Union. I know people sometimes expect magical things to happen. I'll give you an example. For South Africa to be liberated, it took 75 years. I remember when we were starting to campaign in Soweto when we were young and all that, sometimes our mothers didn't understand what all those youngsters were doing. They would even sometimes go and tell the station commanders, "Could our children, they want to go against the government, there's no way you can go against a white supremacist, racist apartheid government." They perceived it as impossible, right? So it's not impossible. So I want to say big up to the African Union with all its weaknesses, but we've managed to institutionalize. I'm asking, what do we do comprehensively? Now, if you look at the African Union, we have come out with a socio-economic program, policy program. It's there, it's in paper. Brilliant, excellent. It's called Agenda 2063.
Charlie, do you think it will be carried out, or it's just?
It's being carried out every day. And I want to say, I want to salute and support the African Union troops who are dying in action as we speak today. People don't know about it. Let's leave that for another day.
Yes.
Who are making sure behind enemy lines. We now know.
In the Mozambiques.
Not only in Mozambique.
In the DRC.
Yes, all of Africa.
In the Horn of Africa.
Absolutely. There's the Sahel region and all that, yes. In Western Sahara and all that. So there is African troops and we are playing our game. Sometimes we do not have to announce everything that we are doing.
Yes.
Sometimes we have our own African troops, our own special forces troops doing things behind the scene. So what am I saying by this? Please listen, because there are African troops who are dying. Yes, we are not as powerful as America, we're not as powerful as England, as Germany, but we have showed them. Let's leave it a topic, but I'm asking Renaissance and what is it that we're doing comprehensively? We are trying to maintain the peace, because without peace and stability, you cannot develop. So because that's what they want to create Africa as an unstable continent where there's always coups and all that. But at the end of the day, we know they want the resources from here. Their worlds cannot function with that. Now we are making it very difficult for them to operate because we are there on the ground. Believe you me, you might not hear about it, but from today you are beginning to hear about it. If you had heard about it, I want you to know about it. And I want to encourage all the African youth, please, when you get your education and all that, take careers in intelligence. Take careers in the army. The modern army is not just about the gun. There's a lot of things. There's IT, there's everything that happens in the army. There's medicine, there's what. Go there. Even volunteer there. Find creative ways of going into the army, of going into police, of going into crime intelligence, and get posted all over Africa and get posted all over the world. You must dare tread where angels fear to tread.
Say it again.
I'm saying it to all.
Heroes.
Yes, be heroes. So institutionally, the African Union is there. We have all the facets of governance. They're in place. They are working. They're not working as much as we want them to, but believe you me, I can give you examples, but I don't want to exhaust that. They are working. What I'm saying, we are frustrating them. In other words, we cannot have a United Nations that has foreign troops, American troops and English troops and all that, that caused the death of Patrice Lumumba. Whatever happens now in Africa, our own African troops are involved. From South Africa, from Mozambique, from Uganda, from Egypt, they are all involved. We are there because this is our territory. So we've made the geography for them to maneuver very difficult because we are there. And we have the expertise, we have the culture and all that. So things are changing and they will become tighter and tighter and tighter.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
After the break, I'm going to ask you what role you think history would or can play in African Renaissance.
Absolutely.
You're still listening to Bloodline Africa, coming to you from One Africa Radio TV. I am still Mr. Chuma Aika Zo. They call me Mr. C. Excuse me, sir, while we talk. I am with my boss, Mr. Michael Safo, sitting next to me, and my boss, bigger boss, the Honorable Prof, the person you're listening to. We're going to take a break, and before we do that, if you want to contribute to what we're saying, please call or WhatsApp us on 2778-934-9311. And you, the corporate entity, we urge you to sponsor this show, either full or part of it thereof. The number again is 2778-934-9311. We'll be back. Africa Radio TV.
Hey.
We are back on Bloodline Africa, coming to you from One Africa Radio TV in Johannesburg, South Africa. Hello, Africa. Hello, my people. I'm sure, very, very sure, you are in the groove as much as we are here. We are talking Africa's Renaissance. We are discussing African Renaissance this morning. I am going to quote a line from one of the verses of the former president of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki. He said, "I am an African in all ramifications and in all spheres." What makes you an African? Is it the color of your skin? Is it what you eat? Is it the clothes you wear? Is it nudity? Is it language? Is it belief? What makes you an African? Prof, let's go back to Renaissance. My question to you, my esteemed Prof, is what has Africa's culture and tradition got to do with Renaissance?
Absolutely. You're talking about, more specifically, you said history. How does history contribute to Renaissance and into our future lives now and all that? Now, you have to understand our ancestors made it very important across all Africa, across all over the world where they're Africans, when they say we had oral history, when we pass on history. You have to understand spiritually first why we pass it on from generation to generation through our traditional dances, through traditional rituals we do, through what we tell you, through the stories, through our proverbs. You listen to the proverbs in Nigeria, the proverbs in Senegal, the proverbs in Ghana, the proverbs in Zimbabwe. This is our ancestors speaking, right? Siobo Shamanyos. In Xhosa.
Wow.
So, meaning that everything comes to an end. There's nothing that, I'm just giving you an example.
Yes, sir.
You
yes,
can
sir.
go into Zulu folklore, proverbs and all that. All that is history. I want to make it very clear so that we understand, so that our youth remain interested in history. History, according to our ancestors, is not just a past. Our ancestors revered their so-called past, what you are now calling, it's past, it's long back. No. Because our ancestors taught, they teach spiritually. You cannot separate, like you were telling me what Marcus Garvey said, a tree without roots.
Yes,
exactly the same. What our ancestors teach. Your past, meaning even your ancestors, what you did yesterday. That's why they say whatever you did, whether you killed someone, the long arm of the law will catch up with you.
Someday.
So our ancestors knew that. So when we say history, we're not just talking history, it's a living personality, it's a living thing. That's why you must treasure it. It's all the teachings you've been getting when you were young, passed on from thousands of years back to you. Now, history, it's intertwined. There is no separation with present now.
Yes.
I am Malusi now sitting in the studio now because of what I planted in the past to get me here.
Yes, sir.
Right. And every day when I wake up, I'm walking to my future. So our ancestors clearly said there is no separation between past, present, and future. It's a one-way continuum. There is no division. Those who saw division is those who want to control people. So our history informs us who we are today. Right? And part of that history, this thing came back thousands of years ago. It captures all life forms and all intelligence, coming from our ancestors again. Umuntu, ngumuntu, ngabantu. That comes back from Mandulo, when God created universes. He created universe. You shall be your brother's keeper.
Yes, sir.
You shall respect your mother and father. You shall share the bread with your loved ones, etc., etc., etc. Kindness, compassion. You shall fight for the weak. You shall protect the weak. Once again, in all it means umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. So that is history. So history don't have this wrong devilish Western perspective. It's a past. No. When we come to African culture, we revere it. What our ancestors teach, we revere, we immortalize it. It's our very life because it informs my present. When I go and look for a job elsewhere, like people look for jobs, or even if I want to do business, can we see your CV? They want to see what primary school I went to, what high school I went to, what university I went to.
Yes.
That is your history. That is your history, your past. Your past is critical. Even if you are in the court of law, when you want lenience and all that, they'll first want to see, are you a first-time offender? Are you showing remorse as you are asking the magistrate to feel sorry for you, not for him to give you 50 years, probably to give you 3 years.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Now your history, maybe you killed that person by mistake, but they see he was a community participant. He helped the community with this and that and that. He helped people find school fees. That is your history. It influences the decision that is going to be taken about you.
Yes.
About you. So history of our ancestors must be revered. People, I hope you understand, I want to put across the feeling what revere means. When you revere, your truth is being given to you. Love is being given to you.
Yes.
And those who bestow that honor of truth and love to you, you take it deadly serious.
Yes.
You do not play around with it.
An element of fear and respectability.
Yes.
But fear in a very positive.
In a very, you revere it.
Yes.
Yeah. You don't have a Lake Desica type of attitude. Don't tell me about 50 things or 50,000. Our very enemies who murder us, who murder people, who enslave us, they still honor their rituals. They will show you.
Up to tomorrow.
They will show you how America was created.
Look at the Queen.
Don't they talk about their founding fathers? Don't they talk about their founding fathers?
Look at the Queen.
Yes.
The burial of the Queen.
On their bill. On their bills. Don't they have the founding father on their bill? You even call it, when you read, you call them Benjamins. Do you know who Benjamin was?
Seriously.
He was a slave owner. But they honor him.
And they still, when you pick up a dollar, it's Benjamin.
What do you think? They are immortalizing him by putting him on the dollar.
Forever.
Yes.
Forever.
They've called a city, there's a city they call what? Washington.
Yeah, Washington.
Do you know who was George Washington?
Yeah, I do.
He was a slave owner. So when we start honoring our people, what's in the name? There's power in the name. There's power in the name.
Absolute power.
If you listen properly to the name Kwame Nkrumah, if you listen properly to the name Mandela, if you know how to listen properly to the name Samora Machel and who they were and what they did, and you follow in their footsteps, I want to promise you everyone, magic will happen in your life. But if you just listen ordinarily, obviously you will hear Nkrumah. But if you listen with rapt attention, and listen to the urgency Nkrumah had. Nkrumah had no time to waste. He didn't care who said what. He had no time to waste.
And he didn't care what happens to him.
He didn't
as
care.
An individual.
Yes, he didn't care. He had no time to waste. Even this Agenda 2063 I'm talking about, the African Union I'm talking about, already Nkrumah had written all about that.
Prophesied about it.
And I want to say to every listener, and I would like to ask all the embassies and also especially the Nigerian and the Ghanaian embassy, can you sponsor the book of Nkrumah, Africa Must Unite? You will understand what Nkrumah, exactly what's going on today. Everything is predicted. What happened to Gaddafi and all that. He said, if we remain Balkanized, yes. So that book must be read by every child. Africa Must Unite.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And that forms part of the Renaissance you're
so
talking about.
Our history. I'm answering all this not just because I'm talking without direction. It's all to do with your question you asked me of history.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. Nkrumah falls under the repository of history. So does Kabara Nyerere, so does Malcolm X, so does Khalid Mohammed, so does Amilcar Cabral.
So does Houphouët
Sékou Touré
of the Ivory Coast.
So does Abdel Nasser.
Yes, sir.
In Egypt, many comrades were also militarily trained in Egypt.
Even Anwar Sadat.
There you go. So these are all our ancestors. Haile Selassie himself, he was one of the co-founders of the Organization of African Unity. Do you understand? So these are our ancestors. Follow what they did. Where they make mistakes, I want to challenge the youth. Correct it. Be more powerful.
Yes.
Because you don't only learn from what is good, you also turn what is bad and make it good.
Good.
And that is the challenge of the global African youth.
Wow.
Don't back down. Never back down.
Oh
please.
My God. Oh my God. What a session we are having this morning. Guys, Africans, remember this is still your program created for you, the African child. This is still Bloodline Africa, coming to you from One Africa Radio TV, the first and the best radio television in Africa. We are based in Auckland Park, Johannesburg, in South Africa. Today we are discussing the African Renaissance. Prof, how do we incorporate Africa's diaspora into this project?
They are already incorporated because the first thing that has been done, the information is there. The information of Marcus Garvey is there. The information, we spoke about Jamaica. Bob Marley came to African perform. Jimmy Cliff, we spoke yesterday, he came and performed. Don't underestimate those connections. Those connections are made. There's a lot of West Indies embassies here looking for business, and we are also there looking for business. We have joint scholarship, University of Johannesburg and West Indies universities. They have cooperation and joint. All these things are there, and these are some of the people we must invite.
How then do we engineer a renewal in the way we think? Because it's one thing to talk about, to say it. It's one thing to come up with African Renaissance. It's another thing to make sure that it begins to take root, that it happens.
It is taking root. I already spoke to you about the African Union, right? And the African Union already has institutions, for instance, the APRM, the African Peer Review
Commission.
Right. Right now, they've managed to mediate a peace, Ethiopia, because certain forces, enemies of African people, are trying to cause destabilization in Ethiopia. The peace talks were done here, just like the DRC peace talks were done here, just like the Comoros peace talk when General Abacha did not want to abdicate power, they were done here in South Africa. So, you know, one of the legacies that Thabo Mbeki left is what they call quiet diplomacy. It doesn't mean when you're quiet, things are not being done behind, because some things you have to do them quietly, because sometimes your enemy is watching you intently and you don't want them to know everything. So institutions are there. We are playing our part. It is happening, and we must have great exposure. And I hope this radio in future, you will begin to invite some of these institutions of the African Union to come and say, let's measure your progress.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
African Union, your institution, what are you? You are SADC, you are ECOWAS, what have you done? Let them come into the studio and explain so that
That is the dream. That is the dream. That is the plan.
So work is happening, believe you me. Yes, it might not move as smart as fast as you want, as effective. Remember, we are against very powerful enemies. We are fighting against demons. Spiritual warfare is not only just material warfare, but I am confident personally they do not have so much play like they used to, right? So we've locked them into the corner. They are still powerful. We have to be tactful. Like I was telling Rabban the other day, we have to be strategic. We have to fight intelligently. We mustn't fight as if we think, if Malusi goes against Mike Tyson, you know, before I fight Mike Tyson,
you're already dead.
I'd rather go and get 200 other Malusis.
Yeah.
Yes, he'll beat 10 of us, but we will get him if we're 200. That is intelligence, because I saw it. If I go up against Mike Tyson on my own, I have no chance.
Yes.
But if I get 200 Malusis, we strategize. When you hold his leg, you hold his leg, you do this. He'll punch you. Some will have to die in the process, but we'll get you. That is intelligence. That's what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's not engage the enemy recklessly and foolishly. There's many ways of putting the pressure, and this is what we're doing. And I would love your radio in future to invite African Union and its offices and the embassy to come here and tell you the progress that is happening and challenge them. And I think it's important to do that.
I promise you will try.
Absolutely. Yes.
When we come back, I'm going to ask you of the role you think individual African countries can play or must play in making sure that Africa's renaissance begins to, or rather happens at the end of the year.
Yes, I have some ideas of things that we can do, what I call low-hanging fruit.
Okay.
That we can chip, yes.
That will be after the break. Africa, remember we are still listening to Bloodline Africa, coming to you from One Africa Radio TV. We are based in Auckland Park, Johannesburg. Our number still remains 2778-934-9311. That's our WhatsApp number as well. You can reach us, send us your comments, send us suggestions, give us suggestions you want us to talk about, so long as it has anything to do with Africa and the African child. We say we tell the new Africa story, and we mean new, progressive, fruitful Africa story. We are not here to tell the story of Van Riebeck and the rest of them. We're here to talk about the Shaka Zulus of this world. We're here to talk about the Uthman Danfodios of this world, the great Africans, things that our children will learn from the advent of Africa's glorious past. We'll be back in 2 minutes after the break. Pimper's Paradise by Bob Marley. Africa, we are still here for you. This is Bloodline Africa coming to you from One Africa Radio TV here in Auckland Park, Johannesburg, South Africa. Are you in Jamaica? Are you in Ecuador? Are you in Brazil? Are you in Russia? Are you in Eskimo? Wherever you may be, so long as you're an African child, this is for you. We are talking African Renaissance this morning, renewal, rediscovery, repackaging, remodeling our identity, telling it the way it should have been told, through the horse's mouth, directly from our mouth and the actions of our ancestors. I still have my revered teacher sitting with me, the Prof. Prof, I said I'm going to ask you to please help me in understanding the role individual African countries should play in ensuring that the Renaissance we are talking about happens within their own territory.
Absolutely. Thank you very much once again. Something very striking that touched me about Bob Marley's song, Pimper's Paradise, which is very relevant to the topic, it's very important.
Yes.
He says that don't lose track of yourself. Don't just be a stock
on the shelf.
You hear?
Yes.
Don't lose track of yourself. Don't just be a stock on the shelf. Bob Marley died long back. This is history. Again, back to Renaissance. It's very relevant now. He's saying don't lose track of yourself. Don't just be.
Anybody,
Yeah,
be somebody.
Yes. Now, going back to the countries, what can each individual countries do? Let me tell you the success, what they've done already.
Okay.
Africa now has a new constitution. It's called the Constitutive Act of 2000.
Wow.
Constitutions can always be amended to make them better, but that is a good beginning. Right. It was adopted in 2002 here in South Africa, and Thabo Mbeki was the first president who presided over that.
Wow.
That is progress, serious progress, because within that we are agreeing as Africans. Yes, we might have different cultures from different geographies, but we have shared values. Shared values. Ubuntu. That is progress. We have our offices. Now, individual countries, if you go to individual countries, all these members, this is success number one I want you to hear, and I want everybody to hear all over the world. All the all the African countries, they are members of the African Union. As countries, they are member states of the African Union.
Yes.
Right. Number two, I don't like using this word, but they are African. I believe in global Pan-Africanism, but let's talk about the diaspora. The diaspora also have a greater representation within the African Union. They sit in its meetings and everything. And they are part of ECOSOC, which is the economic civil society group within the African Union. So African Union is very global. It's not just continentally African. It's everywhere where there's African. If that is not its progress, that is progress. It's opening up what we call an enabling environment so that individuals can take place. So countries have done that. Now also what happens if there's elections in countries or unconstitutional changes of government or if there's coup, right? The Peace and Security Council of the African Union, they look, they send and see what is happening, right? You cannot say, Mr. Chuma, you are married with your wife and you've got 10 kids and all that, everything is fine, you're a rich man, there's cars, they go to school, and you cannot tell me there won't be problems. Sometimes the school will phone you and say your son did this, whether it's true or not, you go and investigate. So it means your institution is working, right? You are working, you are capable. If you're not able to go there, you can send your wife or your brother or whatever. So what I'm saying, that never used to be there. Those who colonized us, the demons who colonized us, refused us to exercise our agency. Now guess what? We can exercise that agency. For instance, ECOWAS played a great role, Nigeria played a great role to stop the civil war that was going on in Liberia and in Sierra Leone.
Wow,
ECOWAS.
Say it again.
Yeah. So people can say whatever. Yes, we do have mistakes. Dare I say, tell me one human being, black or white, whatever you call yourself, who doesn't have a mistake. But it doesn't mean we don't move towards positivity, right? Even our very own enemy who suppresses us globally, they have their mistakes as well. You understand? We do have, but let's appreciate what we are doing and we can do better. And if you think, my African brother and my African sister, we are not doing better, please come and join us. You heard what Raban says. You say you don't care about politics. Politics will play you, will show you. And Raban explained yesterday, as a youth, that's why I'm mentioning him, that everything in life, whether you like it or not, everything in life is politics. Everything in life is within the framework of politics. You need to fly out of this country, you must have a passport, you must have a visa.
Even within families.
Even within families. So everything, you must get involved, right? You can't be a boxer and expect other boxers won't hit you. And certain fights you're going to lose. When Kaizer Chiefs plays with Orlando Pirates, sometimes they don't know who's going to win, even though they've trained very hard. That's how life is. So yes, complain, talk about our mistakes, but hey, come and join the fight and be part of the process. Talk only is cheap. So countries, this is what countries are. They are now members of the African Union. When there's elections, all the African states, African Union, they will go and observe the elections. Whatever problems are there, whether there's rigging, we sort them out. That is what we call agency. That is what is happening. Already, also slowly, certain countries, like for instance, if you want to go to President Paul Kagame's country, Rwanda, you get your visa at
port of entry.
Port of entry. It's happening with Kenya now. Even between Kenya, it was recently done between Kenya and South Africa. So these are changes. We also have what we call now the African Continental Free Trade Area across all Africa, right? So those who are into business, small businesses, medium business, big businesses, this is your chance to take your chance. You go to those places, go to Department of Trade and Industry and all that. Remember again, talk is cheap.
And with no tariffs. With no
tariffs. They're doing away with all the tariffs. They're doing away with all the non-tariff barriers. Right. The other thing that we must push, what I would like to see, I've given you the successes that are there. You, the people, you must also show agents, because governing Africa and governing the world is not just about the people at the top. You must organize and put pressure on them. Intelligently, use your ideas.
Make them govern and govern effectively.
Absolutely. All the ideas cannot come from Radio Africa. From you too, use your ideas and make that happen. You know what I mean? So, but what I would like to see, I think that can be easily done, and it can create a critical mass of interest. This is one of the things I'm very passionate about. Africa must really do away with the borders, right? I do not buy excuses about security, this and that and that. Africa now has the technology to record everyone biometrically. That can create jobs for our youth. So if you they can open up borders in phases. So probably even do when they take away the borders. Listen to me, because I'm thinking on my feet. Right. Already they've done it in West Africa under ECOWAS. They have a regional parliament. Within West Africa, we can use that template already. West Africans, they can move freely without visa, nothing. They move.
They're even thinking of a common currency now.
You understand? And everybody there within is biometrically recorded, right? So as you go on, you do not need to be carrying a passport. I do not see within SADC, between Botswana and South Africa and Lesotho and Swaziland, right? I cannot see why my beloved brothers in Swaziland, because they are part of South Africa, why they cannot be part of South Africa. I cannot see our beloved brothers in Lesotho, a country within a country, they cannot be part of South Africa.
And these two countries you mentioned are within South Africa.
They are within South Africa. They can maintain their constitutional order and let them pass, because I know a lot of students, when they have to go back to Swaziland, can you imagine in this day and age, they have to be applying, filling forms and all that and all that and all that.
In 2022.
Yeah? Same thing in Lesotho. So I'm appealing to our African leaders with respect, with reverence, in Lesotho, the Lesotho government. I'm appealing to the Swazi government. This is low-hanging fruit. Let's unite Swaziland and Lesotho into the community, the regional economic group of SADC. Come in and let's not bother our people at borders where they have to be looking for passports and all that. In terms of security, everybody can be biometrically recorded. The home affairs of these countries know it. Make the budget and make life easier for people, because when you do that, people are intelligent. They will even have their own ways, which are not only known by the presidents and the ministers. Allow ordinary people to exercise their intelligence. So do away with balkanized Africa. Lesotho, please come into South Africa. South Africa, go into Lesotho. And Swaziland, come into South Africa. And South Africa, go into Lesotho. Botswana, come into South Africa. And South Africa, go in. Let all be
free movement.
Yes. If Germany could be united, that was I think 1989 when Berlin. That is 20th century. If they could do it,
the West Germany.
If the Germans could do it to come together as one people again, why can't we? Why can't we unite with Lesotho? Why cannot we unite with Swaziland? Why cannot Zimbabwe become part of SADC? We become one country. Why can we not check off all these borders and do away with passports? You will create then, if you're worried about security, train a lot of young men in intelligence.
You may be surprised that security will even get better then.
But this is what I'm saying. I'm trying to show how you can create jobs. You make budget for it. When you do away, you do it in phase forms. You biometrically, you employ youth. You train them in intelligence, in everything, in some of the things that I don't know. So that as you open, everybody who's not recorded you become so focused, you make sure everybody's recorded, and we now have 5G and all that, we can pick up things. Yes, we will have problems. Life is about problems. And I dare say we will not get to a clean period now to say, oh, now we are very ready to unite Africa. United Africa is going to be a mess. Even if you are a fighter, you're going to box. You can ask any team, even if they're going, No coach will say we are now 100. You do as much as you can to train. So it's high time Lesotho, Swaziland, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, we must remove these borders. It's paperwork wasted and all that. Let our people mingle, increase security, train a whole lot of young Africans, young women Africans. Africans, it hasn't been said.